How that looks. Hi, this is Brandy Bixler, and I'm starting the webinar now on how to build an engaging classroom website. It's a great way to start the school year off and to think about how to organize your classroom resources and how to organize things that you want to share with your students and with your families. So some of the benefits of having a classroom website are to organize your classroom resources. It's a great way to put online resources up there for your students to do homework, to put videos up there that you want the kids to watch, maybe for a flipped classroom, to put homework help on there, to put notes to parents, to do a newsletter. It's just a one-stop shop for all of your students' and parents' needs. It also is a great way to increase communication with parents. If you use it consistently, parents always know to first go to your website and check that whenever they have questions. And also, if the kids did a fantastic piece of work and you shared it on there, the kids are going to want to go home and share that with their parents too. And it also is a great way to organize and keep kind of a running record of evidence for your teacher effectiveness ratings. So you don't have to upload a whole bunch of stuff onto whatever system you have to use for your school district. You just have your link for your website to show how you've planned lessons, work that your students have done, anything really. So some of the things you can include on your site are, of course, your name, your contact information. It's nice to have a really quick button on there for your parents to click or your students to click so they can email you with questions really easily. Schedules, assignments, any kind of resources that you want to put up there, polls and surveys. It's a great place to put sign-up sheets for conferences and homework, just to have a running list of online resources. You could put a reading list on there. You can even do a little book club and make it a blog on there. You can have a student of the month page. You can have your calendar. And one of my favorite ways to use the website is to have student work galleries, because then you can make a page like you would a bulletin board in your classroom where it has the standard and the expectation for your grade level, and then you can put exemplars up there and you can annotate them, and then parents can see where kids should be in your classroom. It makes conferences a lot easier if you've shown expectations up and shared that with them. There's websites and there's blogs, and then there's a website with a blog. So a website is basically a place where you can have just static information. It's really easy to embed things like polls and videos and forms. It's a great place to put information that's not going to change a lot, that you're sharing out, like schedules, videos. You can customize the layout, so you can have sidebars and media embedded in there, and it's really flexible, which I like. So you can arrange it however you want, you can organize it however you want, and you can always change that organization around. And I like being able to do that on a website. A blog is a great place for updates, newsletters, and announcements. It's interactive. You can turn on comments, so parents can comment on your site, students can comment on the site. It's not usually very customizable. Usually you can change background colors and themes a little bit, but you can't necessarily put a sidebar on there or put a widget in there. But a blog is really quick and really easy. It's you know, like writing a document. You just open it up, you do your newsletter or your book club question up there, and you post it, and you're ready to go. So you can always have a website with the static information and then have one page of that website as a blog. So most website platforms allow for a blog page. Blogs, however, don't usually allow for websites. So when you think about a website, there are so many free options out there. I'm just going to talk about a couple of free options that I've used and that are pretty good. Both of them have their pros and cons. I currently use Weebly for mine, and Weebly for education is really nice. So the pros of Weebly is that it's a drag and drop formatting. So if you want text, you drag a little box that has a T on it out there. If you want an image, you drag an image box on there, and you can arrange it in like sticky notes kind of. They're called widgets, and you just drag them out there. It makes it really, really easy. Also, a feature with Weebly that I really like is if you go to the education Weebly, you actually get student accounts. So you can get, I think it's 30 free student accounts. So you can have a website, and your students can all have a website too if you're interested in doing portfolios with your students, or having your students do their maybe a writing journal or a book response online. They can have a website for that too. The only con I really see of Weebly is every time you publish it, they try to sell you upgrades. You want to upgrade your site now? This domain, you can purchase it. You don't have to buy any of that stuff, but it pops up a lot when you're editing your site. The other choice you can use is a Google site, and part of the benefits of the Google site is if your district already has Google Apps for education, you can use Google Sites within that educational app, so it protects it. So you can actually create a site that's only visible within that domain. The downside of that is it's not going to be easy for parents to see. It's only going to be easy for kids to see who have an account in that Google Apps. However, you can get parent email addresses and share the site with them so that they can have access to it. So if you really want a secure, private website, Google Sites makes it pretty easy to do that with a little, it's technically easy, but there's some work as far as sharing it with all the parents. It's easier to customize some parts of it, so you can change, you like using the HTML and embedding things can be easier. You can change the colors a lot of times that you can't change on Weebly because Weebly's themes are really set, but Google Sites, you can actually customize some of that stuff a little bit more. And like I mentioned before, you can change the sharing options, so you could make it private to students only that are in your Google domain and make them sign on to see your stuff. You can add certain people only to be able to view it. You can also just make it public to everybody, which is how I would do it, because if a student has a project that you've posted on the website, maybe a grandparent who lives in another state wants to see it. So I personally prefer to keep things opened and just be very cautious and cognizant of what it is I'm putting on my website. The cons are not quite as easy as drag and drop. It looks a lot like a document editing window, and it's not quite as intuitive. You have to find the little buttons to edit it and stuff, but they do have great support on their website. And some of the menus can be confusing. I use Google Sites a lot, and I still have to think, oh, where was it that I saw that pages where I can rearrange the pages? Oh, so the menus aren't as necessarily as intuitive as the Weebly ones. If you're thinking about doing just a blog, Blogger, I really like. Again, it's connected to the Google Apps suite. And if you're editing in the blog, it looks like Google Docs, so the learning curve isn't quite as hard. And they do have HTML editing if you're interested in embedding things like a poll or a video. That's not hard to do either. But it doesn't have a lot of customizable options, so you get to pick from a few themes and backgrounds, but you can't change the layout easily. EduBlog is another really popular one, and I haven't used this one personally, but I know a lot of people love EduBlogs. It's specific to educators, so when you use EduBlogs, you're part of an education community. You can password protect your EduBlog. So again, if you want to keep things really private, you can have a password and give that out to parents and students, and they're the only ones that can access the page. It does have some pretty cool widgets on it. You can embed a calendar. There's a place for, I think, a sidebar. So if you want to have kind of a more complex blog, EduBlog is a better choice than Blogger. Blogger is a really simple platform. There's a lot of professional learning topics on EduBlog also, and in EduBlog you can add student blogs under your account. One thing I found in EduBlog when I was testing it out is I have a bio that I wanted to copy and paste into it, and it blocked me from posting too quickly. So if you're a person like I like to type my stuff out and really think about it in a Google Doc or a Word document and then copy and paste it into my blog, just works for me. That it makes it difficult to do that. You kind of have to write within that platform so that you're not posting too many posts in a row. The pro of that, though, is that if you have students and you're using it for writing assignments, it makes it harder for them to plagiarize also. So those are 4 choices for a classroom website that I think you should consider. So some tips on getting started. The first thing you really need to think about is to start really small and just choose one reason. Why do you want a classroom website? Are you going to flip your class? Do you want to do this instead of a newsletter? Is this a place for you to put student work and share exemplars? You know, have a real clear idea of what it is you want to do for your website, and then start small. Start with 2 or 3 pages, and then you can always add more. And that's what kind of has happened to my website. If you look at my website, I have, because I teach technology, I teach all grade levels. But then I did a club, so I made a page for that, and I wanted to put the standards on a page. So my website, just as need arose, grew. So just keep in mind that you can always add to it. It's really easy to add a page and to add a topic and grow it. Doing it that way also lets your audience really get familiar with the basics of your site, and then one thing at a time can change and they're like, oh, that's a nice new feature, and you're not hitting them with a massive website all at once for them to navigate, because that can be overwhelming for your audience as well. So an example of a website that you might want to start with would be just an About Me page. I highly recommend putting a little bio about you that's really kid-friendly, community-friendly. Parents, your students love to know just a little bit about you. I always post a picture of my dog, and I, share some of my artwork and my kayak trips. Very brief, but it gives the students a way to see me as something more than just this tech teacher. And the parents, I think, also can connect with me a little bit better, because I do share a little bit about myself. Nothing too personal, but this is who I am out of school. And then have a page that's something about your class. So have your homework assignments, have a list of goals for the year, put your schedule up. Just whatever that purpose was, this is where that would probably go, as an About My Class page, and you could name it whatever you want. And then another really great tool for this, if you have access to any kind of technology in your classroom, iPads, computers, Chromebooks. If your website is where you set as like a home page or a bookmark and you train your students to go to it, it's a great place to put, you know, this week we're going to work on code.org, we're going to do an Animoto video, and put all those links there. Then students aren't spending a lot of time typing in websites on where to go. You just have a clickable page for them to go get their assignments or their extra work. You put websites up there for parents to use at home. I've found parents really appreciate being able to have some education around what's a good and appropriate website for their student to be using, rather than just a game website. So if you put a educational website up there that the kids enjoy, the parents will say, well, you can have an hour of computer time, but I want you to pick from these choices on your teacher's website. It gives them an opportunity to monitor and be part of your students, their kids' web browsing and computer time. So I thought right now we're just going to go to Weebly for education, and I'm going to try it out. There's a Weebly and there's a Weebly for education. If you use the Weebly for education, you get the free student accounts. So you're going to want to go to Weebly for education. I'm hoping it's showing up on your screen. So one of the things I like about Weebly is after you sign up for Weebly, you can log in with Facebook, and it just saves you from remembering a password. So here's a list of the websites that I've built. So when you log on to Weebly.com for the first time, you won't have any of these sites. What you'll see is add site. So you'll just click on add a site. And you'll want to, you can either make a website, which again is just your static information, but you can have a blog page on that. Or if you just want to have a newsletter and make it into a blog, you can choose blog. I'm going to choose site. And then you get to choose your theme. When looking at your themes, one of the things you need to think about is, do you want to have the menu at the top, like this one here has the itinerary, gift shop, food? You can have it up there, but it limits the number of pages that show. So if you're only going to have 3 to 5 pages, it's ideal. Another one you can look at is one that has a sidebar for a menu. See, most of these have the top tabs for the menu. Trying to find one that has a sidebar menu. Here's one. This one has a sidebar menu, and these are nice too. I kind of like the way these look, and you can have more things on the side. The downside of this is it takes up some of the real estate from your actual website area, so you can't have as wide of a site. So I'm going to choose this one, and this one actually gives me some options for colors. I think I'm going to choose this gold color. What's one of our school colors? So when you go into Weebly, you choose your website domain. You're going to use a subdomain of Weebly. That's the free one. So this is where you write the name of your website. So I'm going to call this one Bixler Tech 2. And it's available. If you put in something like tech, it might not be available. So you want to make it unique enough so that it's available. I know the students, when they make their websites, they get really frustrated with this because they want to name it, you know, super cool stuff or Minecraft tips or something that everybody wants to name it. Then press continue, and then here's your page. So the first thing I always like to do is name it. I can add a description. And I'm going to leave that button text blank because I don't have a link to put there right now. But one of the things I might link on there is my Google Classroom link or Google Apps link, because we use that all the time in our classrooms. So whatever website, or maybe you have a Twitter account that you want students posting to, or just really depends. If you're an art teacher, maybe you have a Flickr account that you want students posting to. So I would make that link to whatever it is that you use most in your class. And then to edit the image, one of the things that's kind of nice about Weebly is they have a lot of really free, good pictures, and you don't have to worry about copyright violation as long as you stick with the pictures that they show you in their picture choosing widget. So there's my home page. I'm going to save that, and I think I'm going to just save this picture to all pages. So I have that, and then I can choose a layout. So if I want to write a text, I might write, I'm going to put text here. I might put an image here. And I'm just going to put welcome. And then actually to welcome back to school. Classes start on August 11th. See you then. All right. Actually, that was the title. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put the text down below. So T is for title, and then the one next to it with the lines is for text. So I'm just going to put the text there. Classes start on August 11th. See you then. And then for an image, you just click on the image. You can upload from your computer. You can do a search. I'm going to do back to school image. And I can just pick, these are professional photos and you can buy them. I never do. I always just go to the free photos. They aren't as beautiful, but they work. Sometimes I use my own photos too. So here's one I can use. There you go. I just put a picture in there. And then if I want to add another page, they've already added an about page. So this is where I would add about me. The contact page would be where I would put my contact information. And to add another page, I'd go to pages and add. This is where I could add my blog page, and I would just name it maybe parent blog. You can choose if you want tall header, kind of like the landing page, save and edit. And there you go. Now you have your blog. And instead of having all of these things, what you do is you do new post. And then within that new post, you can drag and drop things sometimes. So you do text, title, and text. I always do, but the title's already there. So just text. And I would type, whatever I need to type there, and then post it. And then close it. And then after you're done setting up your site, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to push publish, and that's what makes it visible for everybody to see. So once I push publish, I'm going to say continue. They'll ask you to categorize it, education, teacher. Don't ask me that again. Continue. And this is where they ask if you want to buy your own domain, and I would always say no. You can share on Facebook, you can share on Twitter, or not at all. And then your website's out there, so you can you can just type in Bixler. What did I name it? Let me go back. I want to go there. I'm going to go back to my sites, because I can't remember what I named it. And it should be down somewhere. Here it is right here, bixlertech2.weebly.com. That's the web address you give out to people to find it, and there it is. That's pretty easy. If you want to use Blogger, I'll show you Blogger too. So you can go to blogger.com. And I haven't done a blog in Blogger, but if I wanted a new one, I would say new blog. And maybe I'll just call it Tech2. Pick a, so Tech2. Tech2blogspot.com is, oh, it's not available. So maybe I'll put B. Bixler Tech2blogspot.com. That one is available. This is where I get to pick what I want it to look like. I'm going to pick the maroon one. That's the other school color we have. No thanks, I don't want to pay for a domain. And this is where you'd go to edit, is with the pencil. So this, I could add my new post here on Blogger. So see, it looks a lot like a Google Doc. If you're familiar with Google Docs, this would be a really comfortable website for you to start with. You put your welcome back message here. Put a little emoji, kids like that. This is the images, so if you want to add a picture, you can add from this blog. I don't have anything copied. You can choose files from your computer. You can look at a Picasa web album. I've never used from your phone or from a URL. So if I did a Google search for a picture and I found one I liked, I could put the URL in there, or I can just pick one from my computer. Let's see, what do I have? Do I have anything interesting? Here we go, let's put that up there. That's selected. Did it load? Must not like that picture, or it's taking a very long time. Let's try another picture. Let's see what I have here. There's a picture of me. Let's try that one. Oh, there it is. It showed up. All right, so I'm going to add selected. There we go. And then it's kind of big, so I'm just going to make it nice and small. Make that one nice and small. Got it twice. Delete. So that's how you would add pictures to your blog. So then when you're done with that, you would publish it, or you could save it for later, or you can just preview it. So I'm going to push publish. And I don't necessarily want to share it on Google+. So I'm going to say cancel. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to click View Blog. And this is what your students or parents would see. Hopefully you'd put more information than I did. And the address you would give them would be the one you see up here. So I would give them bixlertech2blogspot.com. And that's how they would log on, or go, that's how they would get to my website. So that's pretty easy. Looking for the So let's see, where am I on this presentation? So we've gone over Weebly for education. We've gone over Blogger. Please feel free to post questions either in the NEA Ed Communities group, which would be ideal because then lots of people could help answer the question, or post questions in the Google Plus page, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Before we go, though, I just wanted to talk a little bit about safety and privacy, because this always comes up when teachers are thinking about putting up a website, or when you tell your administrator or your parents that you have a website. This is where most of the questions and concerns are going to come from. So we want to protect our kids. I mean, number one priority is protecting our kids, and the younger the kids are, the more protections you want to put in place for them. So here's some examples of things you should not post. Never, 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 never post student's full name. Don't put parents' or guardians' name, family members' names. Especially don't put addresses, phone numbers, any kind of personal numbers, ID numbers. Don't put anything like if a student is on, is obsessed with baseball, don't put that on your website so the whole world knows that, John Doe is obsessed with baseball, because just by looking at your website, they already know what school you're at, they already know what grade level they're in, they probably know what class they're in. So if you start giving out names of kids and things that they like, you're making it easy for online predators to go target a child. And it's really rare that would happen, but you really want to be safe about it. I got a lot of tips from this Carroll County Public Schools guidelines. So most of this stuff I'm sharing with you is work that they've done. School security, you want to make sure you're not publishing any information that could compromise your school. So don't put floor plans or maps, don't put master schedules so they know when, you're going to be in the library or when you're going to be in the gym. Don't put student whereabouts. Like if you have a student who goes to a special class at 2 o'clock, don't put that schedule up there. Just really use common sense when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Really make sure you get parent permission before posting anything about a student. I would put a letter out at the beginning of the year asking parents to opt in or opt out of your website, and have a conversation with them if they have any concerns at all. Make sure that they've signed the media release that most schools provide to them. I would also make sure it was okay with the student. Most students love to share their work, but I wouldn't put a piece of work up there if the student wasn't willing to share. So those are things you shouldn't do. So some of the things you can do to identify students to the community and to protect their privacy at the same time is to just use their first name, no last name. You can use the first name and last initial. I don't even think I would do that. You can just use their initials, like JB. You can use non-identifying labels like student, freshman, first grader. You can also use, you can vote on a name that every boy is going to have and every girl is going to have. So you can have Joshua for every boy and Jessica for every girl. And it's kind of cute and fun, and I think kids really like doing that. You can look, if you ever seen Math Train TV, that's kind of what they do. They have the same name for every kid who posts a math video. So my rule of thumb, this is from me, this is what I think about when I do my website, it's not official in any way, is I don't put multiple pieces of identifying information on my website. So the people who see my website already have the name of my school, the grade level of the students, and maybe their classroom teacher's name. So that is already there for them. So I avoid using names with faces. So if I have a piece of work, I will add a first name to a piece of work. not the last name, but maybe just this is John's work. I might put up a picture of students, and a lot of times I just try to get the back of their heads, or have something, a book covering their face, but they all have media releases. So if it's okay with the parents, it's okay with the student, I might post a picture of my students, but I'm not going to put their name with that picture. So I'm not going to say this picture, this kid's name is Jessica. It's just a picture of a student. So I just want to keep it so that somebody can't go out to the playground, identify a kid, call them by name, and pick a, something that the kid's interested in to lure them into danger. So some tips I have for getting started are, I would share my website. I always share my website with my principal and my evaluator and the school secretary. I think that especially the secretary, because they field a lot of phone calls from parents, and if they get a phone call about a class party, or they're dropping off a homework assignment or a big project, the school secretary knows that she can always go to my website and look and see what this is all about and answer a lot of questions. She can also just refer the parent to my website and say, oh, you know what, have you looked on Ms. Bixler's website? I share with my administrator because, again, I want to be very transparent about what I do. And it gives him a chance to see what's going on in my classroom. It gives him a way to share with families, and if he gets a parent that comes in and starts talking about my website, he knows what's going on. And I share with my evaluator because that's one of my pieces of evidence for my teacher quality evaluation that they've done. So updating your website can be kind of overwhelming. We're so busy teaching and grading and planning for students. I set aside a time every week just to update and post, and I don't spend more than 20 minutes to half an hour on it. And I put my lesson plans up there and my schedule up there, not my schedule, but my lesson plans up there. And I do that instead of lesson plans. My administrator does not ask me for lesson plans, so I can just put my lesson plans however I want to up on my website. I can share it with the kids. My learning targets are there. So my website has replaced a lot of work that I might have to do in another way. So it's not adding one more thing. If you already do a newsletter, instead of typing the newsletter and printing it, put it on your website. So putting time aside and also thinking about what you can replace is a really good strategy to manage the time that it takes to maintain your site. There's something called an RSS feed, and if you're not familiar with it, please put a question on one of our communities, either the Ed communities or the Google Plus communities, and I'm happy to answer questions about an RSS feed. But there's a widget you can put on your website where, especially in your blog, that every time you update it, somebody can get an email. So they sign up for it, and you update your blog, you put a new post, and they get an email saying, oh, Ms. Bixler put a new post. That way parents know to check it. Otherwise, they're only going to check it when they have a question about your classroom, and they'll miss a lot of stuff. So I also, this year, I'm going to have a Twitter account for families. And when I update my classroom, I might even have a classroom Facebook account. I have to talk to my principal about that first. But one way to do it is to go where the parents are already at. So many parents are already on Twitter. Many parents are already on Facebook. So if you post when you've done an update, it shows up on their timeline or their wall. And they know, oh, I'm going to click on this and read the update. So they're not having to think about going to one more place to check and see what's going on with their students. It's right there where they are already at. And I really believe in meeting them in that place. Make sure, I'm going to say this again, make sure all your student media releases are signed. You don't want to have a student who's not supposed to have their picture up and you accidentally get their picture in a class photo. And if a parent won't sign that media release, you have to be very conscientious about making sure that that student doesn't get their picture on the website. Send letter home to parents explaining your site, giving directions on how to access it. Always get the parents on board first. And a great way to do this is to put a QR code either on your homework. So you can make a QR code to your homework page and just copy that on your homework assignments. You can paste it, copy and paste it on all your letters home. You can make business cards with the QR code to your website. Another thing you can do is you could make print QR codes out on those printable magnets, and then parents can stick it on their refrigerator, and then they can always just take their phone, which most people have these days, their smartphone, and just scan the QR code and it'll take them right to their site. And it's kind of a fun way to do it, and it's also, I think, really a useful way for it to be easily accessible to families. So if you have any questions, again, please post on one of the communities. I shared a document on the Google Plus community, and I'll also share it in the Ed communities for this presentation, and it's right here. There's a link to it. And I've put how to build an engaging classroom website. If you want to make a copy of this and save it for yourself, you go to File, make a copy, or you can just add it to your favorites. And then I put, how to join the NEA communities. There's a link for that here. I put a couple websites that had really good articles about classroom websites for more information. I put links to the platforms that I talked about. And if you're interested in starting a Twitter account for your classroom, I put a help sheet to get that started also. And then guidelines from that school that I shared with you about what not to post and what to post. So that's on there. The comments are turned on. If you have other resources that you would like to share with the group, I would love for you to go into the comments and post them on this document. Let's see what else. If you have not joined the NEA community, I highly recommend it. There's lots and lots of great groups in here. There's not just for technology, but for all subjects. There's one for paraeducators. Looks like this. They've changed it a lot. It's a little slow loading up. My group is digital tools and learning for grades 3 through 8, and my teammate, she's right here, Sharon Davison, has a group for kindergarten for little kids. So hers is pre-K through 2. So if you're a kindergarten teacher or younger, I would highly recommend her site. She's got amazing ideas for that. There are lots of webinars that happen. So there's another webinar coming up on creating interventions for the pipeline, school to prison pipeline. There's lots of groups. There's a classroom management group that's being featured. But here's just a quick look at what this website looks like. And it gets better every day. So I highly recommend checking this out if you haven't already. And I will look forward to hearing your questions. If you have a classroom website, I'd love for you to share it and post it so we can see what you've done with it. And have a wonderful day. Thank you.